Hello everyone. In today's short video, I'm going to explain a difference between sales receipt and invoice and how to create a sales receipt and an invoice in QuickBooks Online. So when do we use a sales receipt and when do we use invoice? Well, it really comes down to one thing, and that is timing. So beginning with a sales receipt. A sales receipt is used when the payment happens at the same time as the sale of product or service occurs. So a client makes a purchase, pays you immediately. And it doesn't matter how a client pays you. It can be cash, card, or bank transfer. What matters is that you receive the money immediately. And in QuickBooks, that records the income and the payment at the same time. There is no waiting and there is no accounts receivable involved. So what a sales receipt is basically telling you is, I already got paid. An invoice, on the other hand, is used when you've done the work or delivered a product, but you still haven't been paid. So for example, you send a bill to a client and they're going to pay you next week or maybe in 30 days, even though you've delivered a product or you delivered a service. In QuickBooks, that invoice sits in accounts receivable, which basically means the money is expected, but it hasn't hit your bank account. So it only records the income, but it does not record payment. So essentially what an invoice is telling you is, I'm waiting to get paid. And once you understand that difference, your reports, especially cash flow report, is going to start to make a lot more sense. So now let's look at how to create an invoice. So let's look at creating a sales receipt first. There are several ways of getting to that screen. You can create a sales receipt by clicking on the plus create button and selecting sales receipt. You can also create one by going to my menu and selecting it from here if you've added it to your favorites. So this is where you would find it if you had it under my menu. And another option would be to go under all apps, selecting sales and get paid. And then from here, you can select sales transactions, click new transaction, and select sales receipt. And here is where you fill out your information. So let's select a customer who we received payment from. And if that customer is listed, we can just go down and select one. Or if you start typing, it should come up and then you can just select that customer. And this will automatically assign a number to a sales receipt. Next, you're going to select a payment date. And if there is any reference number, you can enter this information here in that box. Next, we are going to select a product or service. Enter description. Enter your amount. And here is where you can assign a class, and I discuss classes in a separate video, so make sure to watch that video as well. If you're also selling a product, you can add product here. Enter a price. If you're selling a service, then your tax will most likely not apply. But if you're selling a product, you can click here, check this box for tax, and it will calculate the tax. Once you record all this information, you can also add a memo to yourself if there is any additional information that you'd like to include. And from here, we're ready to record this sales receipt. If you wanted to record this sales receipt and close the screen, then you can just select the record and close button. And here is the screen where all the sales transactions will appear. Now let's create an invoice. And there are several ways of creating an invoice as well. You can click on plus create button and selecting invoice. You can also click on my menu if you've added it to your menu. And you can also click all apps, select sales and get paid. And from here, select invoices, create invoice. And if your customer has not been added to your QuickBooks, then you can certainly add your customer here. So let's actually add a customer. We're not going to fill all of the information out. We'll just simply add the name of the business. From here, we're going to select invoice date, and you can also change a due date to a different date. Then go down to product or service. And once again, we'll select legal fees. $250. This will be for monthly fees. Tax does not apply. And it gave us a warning message that says we can't validate the shipping address. So we've based the sales tax calculations on your business address. For a more accurate calculation, update the address you're shipping to. So we do not want this service to be taxed. So that's why I checked this box off. Now for another product, again, we're going to do promotional magnets. $50. And in this case, again, you can add a class if you need to. I discussed classes in a separate video. And for this one, we're going to actually select tax yes. And here it's going to apply that sales tax to the transaction. And now we're ready to save and close this invoice. You can also customize your invoice. You can add a logo to it. You can have a different template. You can have different fonts. You can change a due date. And I'm going to discuss all of this in a separate video. However, today I'd like to also mention one more thing. As I've mentioned before, your invoice creates one accounting transaction in QBO. But at first, it records accounts receivable plus income. So what happens is that later, when you actually receive payment, you need to create a receive payment transaction, which is a second accounting step. But we're going to talk about that in another video.